The storm clouds gathering over Kevin Stefanski's reputation aren't just whispers anymore, they're roaring headlines. Shedeur Sanders is rising, his stock climbing with every precision throw and every clutch moment, while Stefanski's credibility faces unprecedented scrutiny. The Atlanta Falcons locker room, even before the season officially begins, is reportedly simmering with tension, and the ghost of Cleveland's quarterback controversy refuses to stay buried. This isn't just about one coach or one player. This is about accountability, reputation, and whether the NFL's revolving door for coaches finally comes with consequences. The question everyone's asking, is this karma for what unfolded in Cleveland? The receipts are piling up, the reports are flowing in, and the breakdown reveals a pattern that cannot be ignored. Let's rewind to where this all began. When Shedeur Sanders entered the league, he carried the weight of expectations that would crush most rookies. The spotlight wasn't just bright, it was blinding. Every throw, every decision, every post-game interview was dissected with surgical precision by media outlets hungry for content. But here's where the narrative takes its first controversial turn. Despite the pedigree, despite the college success, Shedeur fell to the 5th round of the draft. The debate raged across sports talk shows and social media. Was this a steal for Cleveland, or was there something teams knew that fans didn't? What happened next in Cleveland has become the stuff of NFL folklore, depending on who you ask. The alleged sabotage narrative didn't emerge overnight, it built gradually, report by report, practice by practice. Sources indicated that Shedeur received limited first-team representatives during crucial preparation periods. The depth chart became a moving target, shifting in ways that left analysts scratching their heads. Stefanski's public comments painted one picture, but the on-field reality told a different story entirely. ESPN, ABC, and national media outlets picked up the story, amplifying what had started as whispers into a full-blown controversy. Social media exploded with takes from all angles, former players, analysts, and fans debating whether a coach was intentionally limiting a rookie quarterback's development or simply managing a complex roster situation. The optics, regardless of intent, were problematic. Yet despite these circumstances, whether you view them as obstacles or normal rookie challenges, Shedeur's performance spoke volumes. He delivered multiple 300-plus-yard games, showcasing arm talent that reminded scouts why they'd been intrigued in the first place. He orchestrated game-winning drives when the pressure was highest, displaying the composure that separates franchise quarterbacks from career backups. By season's end, his performance metrics aligned with Pro Bowl-level recognition in several statistical categories, creating a stark contrast between his production and the apparent coaching trust deficit. The NFL is watching, and players across the league were taking notes throughout this entire saga. Here's what casual fans often miss: the NFL locker room ecosystem operates like a small town. Players talk, constantly. Information travels through group chats, off-season workouts, and chance encounters at events. When a situation unfolds like the one in Cleveland, it doesn't stay confined to one organization. Reputation spreads with remarkable speed in this interconnected network. The relationship between coach and player, particularly between head coach and quarterback, represents the foundational trust upon which successful franchises are built. When that trust appears compromised, or when a young quarterback, regardless of circumstances, seems to be fighting against his own coaching staff for opportunities, other players notice. The question reverberates through locker rooms: if a talented rookie QB can be treated that way, what happens to the rest of us? This context becomes crucial when examining what's currently unfolding in Atlanta, because players remember, and they discuss. When the Falcons announced Stefanski's hiring, the organization framed it as a fresh start, a proven coach with a track record bringing stability to a franchise hungry for consistent success. The fan reaction was decidedly mixed. While some pointed to his previous accolades, others couldn't ignore the Cleveland controversy. Social media response was lukewarm at best, with Falcons fans expressing everything from cautious optimism to outright concern. But the real story isn't playing out in fan forums, it's happening inside the Falcons facility, behind closed doors where cameras don't reach. Reports of tension have begun surfacing, vague at first but growing more specific. Kyle Pitts, one of Atlanta's most talented offensive weapons, has been mentioned in multiple rumors, though details remain murky. The questions about buy-in from established veterans aren't being asked in whispers anymore, they're being debated on local sports radio and analyzed in pre-season coverage. Body language during press conferences has become its own subplot. Observers scrutinize every interaction, every nonverbal cue, looking for signs of discord or harmony. Is the locker room genuinely rallying around new leadership, or is there a quiet resistance brewing beneath the surface of professional courtesy? The league-wide perception matters more than some franchises want to admit. Players don't forget how their peers are treated, especially at high-profile positions. Free agents considering their options think twice before committing to organizations where coaching philosophy and player development raise red flags. Draft picks, particularly those with leverage, evaluate organizational culture before they even arrive at the facility. Is this situation already beginning to unravel before the season even starts? Meanwhile, back in Cleveland, the quarterback situation that should have found resolution continues to generate uncertainty. Competition talk that should have subsided remains a constant background hum. Other quarterbacks' names float through rumors with surprising frequency for a team that theoretically has its franchise player. Media narratives introduce new possibilities, new scenarios, new what-ifs that signal something fundamental hasn't been settled. What does this organizational uncertainty signal? Some interpret it as healthy competition, keeping everyone sharp and accountable. Others see it as a lack of full commitment, an inability or unwillingness to plant the flag firmly and declare, "This is our guy, and we're building everything around him." The contrast between organizational stability and organizational chaos couldn't be more pronounced when compared to how other franchises handle their quarterback situations. And through all of this noise and speculation, Shedeur Sanders has maintained a posture of silent professionalism. While others debate his treatment, his future, and the politics surrounding his position, he's focused on the work. His brand continues growing, his global fan base expanding beyond traditional NFL demographics. Jersey sales tell their own story about marketability and fan connection. He's letting his performance speak, understanding that in the NFL, production eventually silences criticism and validates talent. This brings us to the accountability and karma angle that makes this story particularly compelling beyond just football strategy. The broader NFL culture has long operated on a simple principle: coaches can move from team to team, their reputations largely intact regardless of how previous situations ended. There's a professional courtesy, an understanding that things didn't work out, and everyone moves forward. But this represents a rare case where the public narrative follows. The Cleveland situation wasn't contained, it spilled into national conversation, into player discussions, into the considerations of the next franchise that hired Stefanski. Reputation damage in the coaching ranks typically requires catastrophic failure or scandal. Stefanski has neither on his record, yet questions persist. The "you reap what you sow" theme resonates because it speaks to a larger desire for accountability at all levels of professional sports. Coaches have enormous power over players' careers, particularly young players trying to establish themselves. When that power appears to be wielded in ways that limit rather than develop, people remember. The contrast is striking. Stefanski faces unprecedented reputation scrutiny while Shedeur Sanders' reputation has been strengthened through adversity. One career trajectory points upward with growing respect, the other faces questions that weren't there before. So what happens next in this unfolding drama? Will Falcons players genuinely buy in, or will the season reveal fractures that preseason rumors only hinted at? Will the Browns finally commit fully to building around their young quarterback, or will the uncertainty continue creating an unstable foundation? Most intriguingly, will Shedeur take a massive leap in his second season, the kind of jump that makes draft position look foolish in retrospect? And here's the uncomfortable question Atlanta's front office might be asking themselves in private moments: could they regret this hire quickly? Not because of scheme or play calling, but because of the intangible elements, trust, buy-in, culture, that determine whether a talented roster reaches its potential or underperforms in frustrating ways. The next several months will reveal answers to these questions. Training camp will provide the first real glimpses into Atlanta's locker room dynamics. The preseason will show whether Cleveland's quarterback situation has found clarity or remains muddled. And once the regular season kicks off, performance will begin writing the next chapter of these intersecting narratives. Does Kevin Stefanski deserve a fresh start, a chance to prove Cleveland was an anomaly rather than a pattern? Should the Browns build their entire offensive infrastructure around Shedeur Sanders, committing resources and scheme to maximize his specific talents? These aren't just rhetorical questions, they represent fundamental decisions that will shape multiple franchises for years to come. The NFL's small circle nature guarantees that how these situations resolve will be studied, discussed, and referenced in future coaching hires and quarterback developments. Precedents are being set, whether the parties involved intended it or not. The Shedeur Sanders fallout isn't just about one player's rookie experience, it's become a referendum on coaching accountability, organizational culture, and whether reputation actually carries consequences in a league where second chances are standard operating procedure. What we're witnessing is rare, a situation where the usual protective bubble surrounding coaching reputations has been punctured, where player treatment has become part of the public evaluation criteria, and where the next moves by multiple organizations will be scrutinized through this lens. The Atlanta locker room reaction, whether it manifests publicly or remains private, will ultimately reveal whether this narrative has substance or whether it's been overblown by media hungry for controversy. But the fact that the questions exist, that the tension is being reported, that players across the league are watching, that alone represents something different, something that doesn't typically follow coaches to their next destination.